This meeting is being recorded by the host or a participant.
Ooh,
Okay, got it.
you never know.
It notified me. I think I've seen that before.
Oh boy,
But
boom, in your face.
for your privacy.
Yes. All right. We ready?
I am
Got a fuzz in my
muting
nose.
my devices. I am doing work.
There we go. Professionals. Yes. All right. Welcome to episode 2. We are so glad to have you guys here for yet another week, our first installment of an interview. And we today are interviewing Gabe, one of your co-hosts for this amazing podcast. And I'm just going to go ahead and get it started. Gabe, what lights you up?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I'll preface by saying I'm going to try to keep my answers as concise as possible, but we are new at this, and I am a storyteller that loves the details. So we'll try to keep this concise, but there are quite a few things that light me up, things that make me come fully alive. And I think I only started down that journey. I know that I started down that journey in 2016 when I moved to southern Spain. That's where I met Michaela. And I was sitting down in a cafe and just taking in the moment of being at a very large like community table. You wouldn't see that these days necessarily, depending on where you are in the world, but you know, there's people from all different countries, and it was a beautiful winter day, and just had like a cup of coffee next to me and my journal in hand, and had some questions to go over because I was going through a program at the time that was all about kind of figuring out what you were going to pursue in life, and like who you are and what you're created to be. And those were a lot of questions going through my mind, like post-college. So I sat down and wrote down the question, am I alive? I mean, that was a big question to answer. I was like, yeah, I'm alive. Like,
check my pulse.
Like, I check my pulse. Like, yes, I'm alive. I can see, I can hear. Thank God. Like, I've been blessed with all 5 senses. And started jotting down some of those things that light me up, some of those things that that make me come alive. And you know, it's been many years since then. And I'm continuing to see how those things that light me up and those things that make me feel fully alive have either changed or grown. Like they've continued. And actually, I think that's a good sign. Like when the things that light you up remain consistent from season to season, or, you know, maybe they flex or change depending on like what you've been through, you know, over time. Life experiences. But some of those things, I mean, I'll just read off a little bit of what
she's got a little notebook for those of us listening.
I literally had almost the very same kind of journal with the question, am I alive? And then those things that light me up, and a lot of those things have carried over. This is like the question for myself recently was something similar. So I wrote down like endless cups of coffee. Back then it was just like coffee, like slow brewed, intentional, like, but these are like, this is like, yeah, it's a material thing. It's a comfort thing. It's not profound per se, but it is something.
But you're experiencing it. You're enjoying it. That's huge.
Yeah. My experience, I think, that has surrounded those cups of coffee is like what lights me up. But like just sitting down to a cup of coffee, it also kind of goes back into like my like family roots, because my grandfather had like coffee farms in Honduras, and so I feel like that's an intimate and beautiful part of the random story of my roots. Empowering others also lights me up. I love, oh my gosh, okay, sitting across from somebody, asking them really intentional questions, and just watching them go on this journey of discovery, and then stepping into the answer to their own like their own questions for themselves is just like the most remarkable thing. So I feel alive when the other person gets excited and lit up about, finding
Totally.
the answer, or gaining more direction for their lives, stepping into their passions and pursuits. I'm just like,
yes.
Yeah. Community. Community really lights me up. If we're talking about people, really having relationships around you, in which you're investing in and you get to watch grow. And moving to a new country, you kind of have to start over again, or moving to a new city, or going to college, like you kind of have to start over again with building community. But once you find that community, or once that starts to grow, I think that's a beautiful thing. And being a part of like a family that's not necessarily a blood relation is a really amazing thing. Let's see. I'm an artistic human being, so I really love music and dance and theater. If you didn't tune in for episode 1, I accidentally hopped on a musical reference. And it was great. But yeah, expression and written word. I do love expression, and I miss it. I studied theater in college, and that is something that lights me up, that I don't necessarily have the opportunity to do nowadays, or maybe it's not the season for it. But
but I also think that you found other ways of artistic expression for like where you are in this life. Like you share beautiful photography that comes along with a full story. Like if you guys go check out Gabe's Instagram, it's filled with gorgeous art and the stories behind, like, why is this so meaningful? And that it clearly lights you up. And you can see that.
Exactly.
You can see it in the photo itself. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Because as a human being, like I'm in, like the creative side of me is, at the foundation of who I am as a person. And so it's just like looking at where my opportunities are within, the context that I am in. And so I may not be acting or anything, but I'm getting to do a little bit more dancing here in Spain, which is great. So getting to flex that creative like thing that makes me feel fully alive. So that comes with like singing and dancing.
Love it.
But another really big thing would be like my moments in nature. Time to explore and discover. And exploring and discovering could also be like put into a new context. I'm visiting a new city, or I'm, in a new part of town that I've never been to since I just moved here back in May. And, the exploration discovery is just so important to me and makes me feel fully alive. But also my moments, like when I walked El Camino de Santiago, which is like across northern Spain, was 520-mile journey over just 35 days, casually walking with a backpack on your back. Like,
oh my gosh.
But like what an incredible opportunity. And definitely something that made me feel fully alive. Like meeting strangers, that's another thing. Like I just went on my own, and that's something that makes me feel fully alive. So I'm excited about all of you eventually in the future that we'll get to like interview and learn about your lives and everything. Like like strangers are just friends waiting to happen, connections waiting to happen.
I love that. Friends we haven't made yet. That's amazing.
And I think like I definitely for me, like I connect with God a lot in nature, and that always makes me feel fully alive. Like it's just getting back to the garden kind of a thing. It's just like really getting space from the busyness of life to connect to something that's always there and always just kind of doing its thing and holds so much beauty. And yeah.
It's
So
simple and profound all at once.
yeah. Yeah.
That's
I could go
amazing.
on and on and on.
Well, this is
But
true.
those
We
are
might
some
have
of
to have
my big
multiple
things.
installments of what lights Gabe up. But thank you for sharing this beautiful list. And I think that it's really important to note that, like, while you have so many things that light you up, you have had different things at different seasons that continue to light you up, you know, whether they've stayed in the overall arc or they've ebbed and flowed or whatever. Like, we constantly get to find that light. We get to constantly ask ourselves what lights us up. So why is it so important for you to live a life that is fully lit up? And what has inspired you to pursue this kind of life?
Yeah. Ooh, deep questions. I'm such a words person that I'm like, oh, the right words are important. And
it's the feeling.
Like, yeah, we haven't rehearsed this, so it's
a true podcast.
It is a true podcast. I guess what I will say is I've been reading this book. It's called To Hell with the Hustle by Jefferson Bethke. I don't even know how you say his last name. And it's been a great book over the last like month that I've been kind of delving into it. But something that he says in there that I think speaks to like what my answer would be to that question is like to be present and faithful to the very day in front of us where we currently are. It's something to fight. It's something to fight for. It's something to wrestle for. It's something to be wrangled from the very hands of busyness, work, and distraction. And I mean, I think as human beings, like, we all seek to have purpose, and to be doing things that are purposeful. Like, that's just, I mean, that's who we are. That's how we're created. And for me, like, if I were to neglect all of these things that I listed out as things that make me feel fully alive, if I were to neglect those things, like, it would be really hard to get out of bed in the morning. It would be, I would kind of be like, well, what's the point? You know, but I mean, there have been those days. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we all go through seasons where it's harder to get up and kind of be like, well, what's the point? You know, and I think it's important because I know that my life is not only for me, but it's also for those around me too. Like, I mean, I come fully alive, and it lights me up to like help others and to be there for others, and to be supportive of others. So I think, man, such a big question to ponder on, but
yeah.
It's important to be writing a really good story with my life, because I only get one. And you know, for me, like, this is it. Like, I've got the day ahead of me. I've got, you know, who knows how much time. And I think once we start to realize that we are limited beings, although like there's always great potential, there's like, I mean, go after your dreams, like, you know, do the things, like pursue the degree or, you know, the passion. But once we start to realize that, like, when we keep in mind that like this eventually comes to an end, it's like thinking back, what do I hope I gave my heart and my time and my attention and my energy to, because that changes the story. Changes the narrative, changes you as a character on a journey, changes you.
It completely does. I do feel like asking yourself that question of like, imagining that you're on your deathbed and say, what did I do? What was it all for? And that right there is a massive inspiration to
Yeah.
living a life that is actually fully lit up. And I love what you were talking about with that book too, that it's like, we really do only have this present moment. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. This afternoon is not guaranteed. So what are we doing in this moment to live a life fully alive, to live a life of great intention, to live a life that's exactly what we feel called to, that we feel meaningful and purposeful. And that, like everything that you were just saying, even this, your heart is for service, your heart is for other people. And then thinking about when you went on the Camino de Santiago and met random strangers, like you believed that you were there to meet those random strangers at that exact moment in life for a reason. And what an incredible opportunity to get to have some amazing conversations. I'm sure that you guys shared endless cups of coffee too. And, like basked in the glory and beauty of this nature that we're surrounded by. Like there's so much in opportunity, I think, in life to be lit up, and the way that you live that and truly allow yourself to live in an inspirational way for yourself and for others it's beautiful. But you did also talk about not every day is like that. So what have you
Yeah.
found to be challenging for
Yeah.
yourself
I'm
when
not
you're
like,
pursuing this?
yeah, I'm not like waking up in the morning going, how can I live fully alive today?
No,
It's
that's
like,
just Cinderella.
yeah, I mean,
Right?
if you're a Disney's princess character,
Totally.
maybe.
Yeah, but in real
um,
life, like how can we
in
bring this
real
into
life,
reality?
golly,
Right?
truly. Um, yeah, not every day is like that. And
Mm.
um, I think it's okay to like realize that you're on cruise control at
Mm.
some points. It's like it's what you do when you recognize that that's happening. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you have to. I mean, um we don't always have power over what's happening around us, but we do have the ability to challenge what's happening in us, right?
Mhm.
How we respond to what's going on outside of us or what's going on inside of us. So yeah, I mean, at times has been really challenging. Or like, I mean, let's talk about what's been happening in the last couple of years in the world. Like a lot of people felt like they couldn't move forward with plans that they had,
Mhm.
or to do the things that probably make people feel fully alive or lit up. Um, and I know that my plans to return to Spain had to kind of be put on hold for more time than I was anticipating. And I really got to look at what was ahead to say, okay, what's the area of opportunity? But I didn't arrive to that question right away.
Yeah.
It was taking time to process, okay, what are the challenges right now? And what do I want down the line? And what does that mean for right now? Like
Yeah.
now I have to, how do I cultivate a life? How do I build a life in which I know that I'm truly living? If these are the things I know that make me come fully alive, the things that light me up.
Mm.
And I'm not there yet, or I may be kind of dabbling in those things. It's like, yeah, let me have grace for myself and try to see what it looks like to
Mhm.
add maybe one thing at a time, or to like
Yeah.
incorporate some of those things. And man, when I did, it was like, I know this is not everybody's story, but I think 2021, like a lot of the time we were in quarantine and I was already working from home, when,
Mhm.
stay in place, orders were made and such, but it gave so much more meaning to the time in which I was like, this is a huge challenge to overcome. Like I'm wanting to move forward, to stepping into doing the work that I know is a huge part of like those things that make me come fully alive. But how am I harnessing the time and the challenge in front of me to ultimately produce really great fruit for the future, right? So
Yeah.
I mean,
It
I
sounds
guess.
like even just like viewing those challenges is like, okay, well, I only have this moment. So what can I do
Mhm.
in this moment
Yeah.
to find a way to light up or to take me one step closer towards that life that
Mhm.
I want of being fully lit
Yeah.
up? Like I might not be able to feel into that right now. I might not be able to live it out right now, but what one
Mhm.
small thing can I do? And I think
Yeah.
that that's got to be a huge encouragement. For me, it would have been a massive encouragement, anytime that I'm like really struggling and just like, what's the point, but like kind of, like I just need to
Mhm.
rest. I just need to like not be all in and super excited and whatever. But there's seasons for all of those things. And you saying like giving yourself grace, we need that. We need to give ourselves so much more grace than I feel like we do. But yeah,
Yeah.
these are like
A
really,
lot of
really important things.
Yeah, a lot of my time, I mean, in quarantine and, during all of that was so much rest. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
I'm not used to this. Like,
What do I do with all this
I,
rest?
what do I do with all of this time, this downtime? And,
Mm.
you
Mm.
know, um, it took some getting used to, but it ended up being really beneficial in the end. And I think,
Yeah.
I mean, overall, I was more prepared to come here and do what I'm doing now,
Mhm.
having pressed into the challenges that, where I can't go rock climbing, I can't go out in
Mhm.
nature, travel right now, I can't be meeting strangers, that's for sure.
This is true. Yes, that was highly frowned upon. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
So,
true. But I think that even goes back to what you were saying at the very beginning, that like different different seasons of our story, different time periods call for different things that light us up. And it might be like something similar to what is true in another season, or it might be something completely different. Like there's so much unpredictability in
mhm.
this world, in the busyness of this culture and everything that we live in. But we have complete control over choosing joy and grace and love and light over viewing things as complete negativity. Like, not like there's anything wrong with negative thoughts and feelings and emotions, because those are all real too, but seeing the challenge as an opportunity to like learn something new or find a new way to look for that joy, that spark of light, to get that fire burning again. Just think about like a match or something. It's like, where can I find
Mhm.
that tiny little glimmer of hope?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One big loaded final question. This is for you to share with our audience members. So, well, as if you haven't been just doing that, but you know what I mean? Here's
Yeah,
here's
yeah,
a
yeah.
little takeaway. So, based on your life experience, what is a nugget of inspiration that you can give to our listeners so that they can live a life fully alive?
All right, my nugget of inspiration. Yeah, I mean, like you said, metaphorically, it's like, guys, we've got this room and we're wanting to make it as bright as possible. So we're asking everybody to come in with their nugget of inspiration, that little light. And when we combine them all, the room gets so much brighter, right? We get to spread and share that fire. So for me, I think I'm just gonna pose a challenge. Like, take what I did in 2016, that question, am I alive? Like, yes, check your pulse. I think you're alive if you're breathing and your heart is still going. But what makes you come alive? Sit with that question,
Yeah.
and let it be uncomfortable. Let it be, distractions aside, like, sit down with, like, what do I want most in life? Like, what makes me come alive? Am I alive? What things make me feel fully alive? Sit with that question and journal it out. Like, throw it on a piece of
Yeah.
paper and start writing down anything and everything you can think of. I mean, the limits are endless. I mean, there are
Mhm.
no limits.
The
There's
limit
so
does
many
not
different
exist.
possibilities, but yeah, limits do not exist on that. We're all unique, and it's beautiful to see what different things light people up. So I would just say, take some time. If you've never done that before, which I
Mhm.
know it's such a very interesting thing to do. But go sit down with that question, write it out on your phone, write it out in a journal, or talk it out with a friend and then write it down. Like, make sure it's written down somewhere, because it'll be interesting to come back to.
Yeah. And I think that's really, truly amazing that like you found what you had written out in 2016, and just even getting to note how much you've changed or how much is still true for you or whatever. I think that that's such a great practice. It's definitely something that I'm going to do. And I would be excited to hear from any of our listeners, like what you guys get out of that exercise. Like, you guys can message us on Instagram or email us. Gabe, do you want to actually give our contact info so that people can follow up with us, share what they're learning, getting from this episode? All that.
Yeah, guys, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you found interesting about this episode. Let us know what your answers are to the question, am I alive? Connect with us on social media. You can connect with us on Instagram at Thrive Fully Alive. Also, we are on Facebook at Thrive Fully Alive. And if you email us, you can email us at thrivefullyalive@gmail.com.
Awesome. My gosh, I'm so excited. I feel like we need multiple installments of everybody's stories, but hearing this stuff from you today just makes me so, so excited to get to hear from countless people through this podcast. Like, this is what it gets to be all about: sharing our stories, sharing what lights other people up, and gleaning, like getting that inspiration from one another. Everyday humans, you guys. These aren't just like the wild and crazy celebrities that we all look up to and aspire to be. It's people like you and me. Every one of us. Yes. Awesome. Well, we are excited.
You next week.
Yeah. Yes.
Michaela is up to the plate with our next episode. I'll be asking her the same questions that she asked me, and we'll get to hear all about what lights Michaela up.
Yay. Woohoo. See you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.